Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. We're gonna do welcome to my bedroom. This is actually my bedroom, and I'm actually sitting on my bed. And this is some of my alien collection, my big statues and whatnot. And this is where I do all my nerdy stuff, but I wanted to talk about Alien Romulus, and we're gonna break it down. Now, of course, you can see the merch I got on today. That's my cat shaking the camera. I'm a big fan of Alien 3. We'll go into that. I'm a huge fan of Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3. The rest of the films kind of bother me, but this review is going to be full of spoilers. It's going to have everything from Alien Romulus. I had out of the theater a short reaction if you're interested in that, but this one's going to be, like more detail, breaking down every scene, what I liked, what I didn't like, and there's a lot I liked and there's a lot of stuff I didn't like. So anyway, let's go ahead and say that the original Alien changed my life when I was like 9 years old. I think a lot of people know that about me and how passionate I am about it. But let's go into this saying that from my perspective of like how much I love Alien and the lore and all of that, I disregard the comic books, don't really care. The only outside thing that I enjoy was Alien Isolation. Everything else, I'm like, I just couldn't care less. Prometheus, Covenant, couldn't care less. But Alien, Aliens, and even Alien 3, I feel like those three films, the Ripley story, the story about Ripley and humanity and survival and all of that, and her stepping up to the plate in the most dire of situations, all of that gives me everything I need from a film. And that's why those films are my favorite. We'll go into breaking down more, but I want to talk about, okay, so Alien Romulus. So spoilers from here on out. So if you don't want to have the movie spoiled, go ahead and just go do something else. Okay, so the opening scene of this film, we see a science vessel, and it is at the Nostromo wreckage site from the original film, and it is taking in an asteroid. It's evidently searching, it's taking an asteroid, and on that asteroid, they find the big chap, which is this alien right here behind me. They find that alien, it's the original from the first film, the one that Ripley blew out of the airlock, and that evidently is enough for them to be able to get facehuggers from, or create, get the DNA, which doesn't really... So we're just gonna go ahead and say, I believe that opening scene, and everything looks great. It feels like Alien, the analog technology, everything like that. It's wonderful. It's exactly what I expected. It's what Covenant was missing, and Alien and Prometheus. All of that was just missing. Ever since Alien 3, we've missed the analog technology. Everything's just trying to be fancier, digital, and it's just so stupid. And so it didn't fit the universe that the heavy metal comic books of 1970s, which is what Alien is based on, is that genre. It's what it looks like. And so everything in this film feels like that, which is a huge plus. It's wonderful. But that opening scene, I don't buy it. If you've seen the original Alien, the Nostromo was vaporized. And I mean, it is an iron tugging, so basically a mineral ore. So when Ripley, self-destructs the Nostromo, it is completely vaporized because of the mineral ore that's on it. It's a giant floating factory in space. And when she explodes that shit, that's it. There is no more Nostromo. So when they have the scene in the beginning, I remember seeing they have a piece of shrapnel that's floating by and it says Nostromo. Not a thing, not buying it. And then of course, how are they able to make the alien DNA and everything from the big chap on the science vessel and face huggers and whatever else they were doing, because the alien has acid for blood. You can't extract it. There's no way to get it. So then I guess, so how did they get the face huggers to get, we'll get into that later for the continuation of the story. So let's talk about the opening scene. Not buying it. I'm sorry. The more I think about it, the more angry I get. I'm like, this is a dumbass scene. It just doesn't make sense. Acting wise, so right from the start you got your characters, which I think it's Rain and Andy. One is a synthetic android, and then you have Rain, which is the main female character, the protagonist, and they're both fantastic. Andy's character is incredible. David Johnson plays him, and then Kaylee Spinney plays the female, and David is wonderful as Andy. I mean, his character performance is so great, and everything about it is just like so. He's like an offshoot of an android or something, and it's like her best friend, and evidently she sees it as like her brother sort of thing. And anyway, so they're going to find the science vessel that's evidently being abandoned, and for some reason it's feels like it's in the atmosphere of the planet they were already on, which doesn't make sense. It's like, I felt like there would have been at least some space travel or something, but evidently the science vessel is literally right above where they're staying on this planet. It's odd. So they get to the space station, and when they go in, they're looking for cryopods so that they could do the long hypersleep on their ship to Paradise Place, where it's all beautiful, and so they can not live a struggling life as a working class person underneath the big capitalist corporation that's controlling everything and in their lives. And so they want to escape this, which definitely makes me feel more sympathetic towards them being young, because they're young and they're oppressed and it's just bad. And so I feel like all of that is fine. I don't like the opening scene. Now, if the film was able to tower over that opening scene with the wreckage still being found, I could forgive it. But as we go on through this review, we're going to get into some shit that just gets on my nerves. Now, so as far as the first scene you get to is a face hugger scene, and they get into this chamber and they're locked in there with lots of face huggers. And in this film, there's a lot of face huggers. And for the most part, the practical effects on the face huggers look pretty good. There's definitely points where they don't look real. I feel like they look a little bit like a little floaty, you know, and it's fine. I support the practical effects, but I do feel that the practical effects in Alien 3, the practical, not the rod puppet, or Alien Resurrection, I feel like those practical effects may have even been better than this film. And I say that because they were far more organic. The way they moved, they looked more real. And I just feel because, and Legacy Effects, I think, they were the original Stan Winston studio, and they offshoot now. And Stan Winston did Aliens, but they never did Alien, and they never did Alien 3, and they did not do Alien Resurrection. And so it's, I feel that that's a dying art. So I feel like the practical effects have actually suffered over the years because of the lack of knowledge. The knowledge is not being passed down because of digital effects and how much it's taken over. So I do appreciate Fede Alvarez, the director, his push for practical effects only. It brings me joy to see it on screen, especially the Xenomorphs. And I felt like, I just call it the big chap or Kane's son, or it's this little dude behind me. They did a fantastic job at being respectful of the original Giger design, and which is iconic, and they did a better job being iconic and more respectful than any of the Alien films. It just looked, it had the same vibe and tone. And now we'll get it. So the facehugger scene they get into, they're in some kind of chambers, the facehuggers. There are no eggs. They're in some kind of little container that the science vessel has been doing, and they get in there, and there's a scary scene, but it wasn't as scary, and it's very reminiscent of the facehugger scene in Aliens with Newt and Ripley, where they're trapped in there because Burke puts them in the room. And it's very like, it gives me flashbacks of that, but it's not as good. And the reason it's not as good is because I'm not invested in these characters yet. There wasn't enough time to feel that deep empathy. They got close in some stuff. So anyway, regardless of that, it is a scary scene because it's claustrophobic and they're in there. And you go sit, dog. My dog wants to come sit with me. So it's fine. It's fine. That scene was fine. So anyway, a facehugger gets on one of the girls, and I forgot the name of the character. It's the she's an Asian character, and gets on her. I actually really liked the way she looked. I liked her. Her acting was actually pretty great. But the facehugger gets on her, and she's got a brother or a friend, or it could be a boyfriend, I'm not sure, that's kind of like one of the idiot characters. He's fine. It didn't bother me that much. Some people hated him. But he has a thing against androids. And so anyway, she tries to get back to their ship because she's got a chest burster in her, and this is where I have problems. So the facehugger gets on her, and the incubation time of the facehugger, and I'm very defensive of the life cycle of the alien. Very defensive. The timing, the warming up, the churning of a fear, the slow fear. The facehugger gets on her, what, 5 minutes? It's off her face. They get it off. They somehow use nitrogen to freeze it off, which is kind of stupid. I just don't buy it. I think that alien has, what do they call it? It's able to adapt to any environment. So it would be able to, freezing its tail, it would be able to adapt very quickly, and it would respond very quickly. So I didn't really fall for that. However, they did it to speed it up. So facehuggers on our face 5 minutes, which is bullshit. It's supposed to be like a 24-hour incubation time where it sits in your face no matter what you do or how you try to get it off. If you get it off, it will tear their face off. If you get it off, they're gonna die. They're not gonna survive by any way to get it off. So somehow they get it off in some new plot twist. They get it off her face, and within 5 minutes, max, maybe 10 in the story, somehow she's having the chest burster come out. Now, to me, it is an insult to the alien life cycle. They did this in Covenant. They did it in some others, shockingly, and I hate AVP. They actually respected an AVP. They actually had a full, like, they walked away, they came back, the facehuggers came off, and then they exploded. Even Resurrection had more respect of the chest burster. It took time. It has to take its slow time at coming out. You spend time with the character knowing that they're about to fucking die. That right there is fear. You never know when it's going to come out. It's going to come out, so they're trying everything to stop it before it does. But that's not what they did. They instantly, chest burster comes out, and the effects look great. The chest burster effects look wonderful. It's slow. Supposedly Fede Alvarez was one of the assistants in the puppetry of the chest burster, and it's fine. But it was too rushed. And it wasn't like this was the only big chap Xenomorph, whatever you want to call it, on that vessel. There's way more. They've been there on this thing. So the fact that they had to show us the facehugger, the chest burster, and the birthing sequence so fast was just an insult. That's when I knew we had a problem. Right there, I was like, I can still overlook it if the film continues to give me what I need. And so the alien comes out, and there is a sequence that I love in this film. I have a deep respect for what they did. They added something to the alien life cycle, and this was the one thing where I almost defend this film. I almost defend it. And there's a cocoon scene, which is really interesting, and I'm all about this shit. So the alien bursts out, and it's fast. And I kind of assumed that when it went in the cocoon, it wasn't finished gestating yet. And that's, you can read into it, but I thought maybe that gives it a bit of a, oh, look, it's a kitty. Looks like Jonesy, doesn't it? So anyway, so the cocoon scene, the guy damages it, it comes out, and there's a great death. This one annoying character dies in a great fucking way, and I love that scene. It was just so visceral, really well done. Cocoon, huge thumbs up. Massive, massive thing. I loved it. And then it just started going downhill from there. So let's have a look. So we have a reprising role by an actor who's dead. The actor isn't alive anymore, and so they did this thing which you never do. You don't bring an actor back from the dead. You don't do it. It's wrong. Not that I give a fuck, but it's like, it's wrong, and it's disrespectful, because when an actor has finished his films and he dies or she dies, that is their legacy. That is the work they did. They were there. They shot it. They filmed it. They were embarrassed by it. They loved it. They were proud of it. It is everything that they put into a character. It is very important that those things are protected and secure and safe, and yeah, and all of that stuff. Sorry, my cat was getting on my nerves. So, on some shit he shouldn't have been on. So all of those things are very sacred and very important. And it just so happens that Ian Holm, the actor that plays Bilbo, he played Ash in the original Alien, one of my favorite actors of all time, is back in an android mode, but it's not Ash. It's Rook, or something along those lines, I think his name is. And he's back, and it's the science officer that's on the vessel. And it's half a body, but it's a full CGI effect. And it's fucking stupid. It doesn't look real. They've taken his words from his other movies or something, and they've created, it's a full AI bullshit effect, and it's just really uncomfortable. And I kept saying, okay, I can somewhat forgive this, because maybe it'll just be a small character that's only in there for a minute. No, it's not. It's a big character. This character is all the way through the film. It is a pivotal character all the way through the end of the fucking film. And I was so pissed. And I was like, this is disrespectful of the character. It's pointless and it's wrong. So big thumbs down. This is when I realized the film was in a bad place. And I was like, why would they do this? Why didn't you just pick another character to play a new android that we've never seen before? Another model. Who gives a fuck? Make it some badass character. Make it William Dafoe. Just add someone in there for a little cameo that's like really cool and someone who's a great actor. And just throw them in there to be great. It'd be wonderful. But that's not what we get. So, incubation time, that all just pissed me off. And now we come to the point of the movie where I was like completely fucking done. Now, hold on, no, we'll go into it. The xenomorph attacks were great. The way it moves, they built a rig with an actual animatronic xenomorph. Wonderful shit. Wonderful shit. 100% on board. The way these people die, there's a scene where there's a door and a character that's by a door, and the xenomorph is waiting for the other people on the other side to open it, and it's sitting behind, like lurking. Fan-fucking-tastic. Its whole look, its tail, everything that's there, I was like, oh, fucking badass. Actually, everything with the xenomorph itself that was in the film, that xenomorph, fucking great. And that's the only thing that I really love about this film is the xenomorph. They did such a great job capturing it. And I hated the Covenant xenomorph. I hated all the protomorphs or whatever they were. It's just fucking dumb. Like, it's just an insult to the aliens. So this one, wonderful. Great shit. Because I think the last good xenomorph we had was that one right there, the dog alien. If we call it the dog alien, I call it the dog, but I don't prefer that version. I like the David Finch version with the ox alien, and that's what I call it, the ox alien. And that one right there was the last one that was fast, visceral, intense, fucking wiping people out. Everything else, shh. So anyway, now we get to Ridley Scott. And this is where the shit is gonna hit the fan. Ridley Scott and he made my favorite movie of all time, Alien, and some of my favorite, Gladiator, and then we're gonna have fucking Gladiator 2. Who gives a shit? We have Gladiator 2, you're almost 90 years old, and you're gonna be making sequels and prequels and whatever to your fucking classics, and it's never gonna be as good. It's never gonna be as good. Prometheus and Covenant were absolute hot fucking garbage, and I don't care what anyone says. I liked Prometheus the first time I saw it. Second time, kind of enjoyed it. And then I kept making up excuses around the one thing I didn't like, which was the engineers. And the space jockey, which is in the original Alien, in the chair, the creature that's in the chair, is a 20-foot long fucking creature. It has gone for thousands of years that it is fossilized. Those are the words that Lambert used and Kane used. It had fossilized to the chair. It was massive. And what it represented in that original Alien film was a superior race that was wonderful, not just with technology, but a superior race physically and everything, an elephant race, not human. And that race tried to, with all its technology, control the alien species, and they failed. They failed to control the alien species, and it was foreshadowing of what would happen to humanity if we tried to control the alien. And that right there is all we needed to know about the engineers, or whatever the fuck we want to call them. The space jockeys, what I like to call them. That's all we needed to know. We didn't need a backstory and that it's really like some human race that created us because they're kind of like God and space Jesus and the black goo, which we'll get into in a second. The black goo and everything, it was so unnecessary and it never worked. It never made sense and it never worked. And Ridley Scott, with whatever he's trying to prove at this point in his life, is still trying to drag this along like he's intelligent, like he's smart, like he's passionate, like he has it. And I'm sorry, he doesn't fucking have it anymore. He hasn't had it for a long, long time. And I would say his last one was American Gangster. That was the film where I could tell he was passionate about what he was making. And the reason he's not passionate anymore is because everybody kisses his fucking ass. They think he's some kind of amazing director, top of the line, like, oh my God, Ridley Scott, yes, man, and they just praise it. So he never has to fight anymore. He never has to say, you know, fuck the studio and fuck this, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna be rebellious. And when the studio presses back, he tells them to go fuck themselves. That was who Ridley Scott was when he made Alien, and that is why Alien is so fucking good. Is because you can tell with Giger and everyone on board that these people weren't just, they were like metal. They were like fucking rebellious. They were going against the Hollywood thing. And that's what made Alien so fucking badass and one of a kind. And Ridley Scott has forgotten that. And he's disrespected the alien with his stupid science project shit, and it's fucking dumb. So now that you hear that part, that's how I feel about Covenant and all that crap. And so in this film, I knew Ridley Scott was producing. I knew he was attached. And the moment I saw him producing, I pretty much realized that we could be in for some trouble. But I thought, well, you know what? They're just going to attach his name. He's not going to have too much influence over the project. And I was like, it can't be too bad, you know? I don't know what my cat is doing. It's driving me fucking crazy all. Anyway, so let me just go beat his ass. I'm going to beat your butt. Stop, cat. Christ. So anyway, we're back again. Oh, God. So with Ridley Scott, I knew he was attached to Romulus. And when I saw his name and everything, I was worried. I was worried we're gonna get more of this fucking black goo bullshit that's, you know, engineers and whatever, and it's him trying to still prove that he's got it, and the dude ain't fucking got it. And if I saw Ridley Scott in public, I would probably cuss him the fuck out. I would sit down and I wouldn't be in awe. I'd be like, look, you did some good shit, but you fucking took your legacy and you rammed it into the fucking dirt, and it's fucking bad. So I think Fede Alvarez, when he made this movie, I think it was all good. I think it was all good. I think he was on the right path. I think he was doing it. And I believe Ridley Scott came along and said to him, you know what, I'll endorse your film. I will produce your film. We'll do it with Scott-free pictures or whatever the fuck they did. And we're going to push this movie through. However, we're going to have to add in some of Prometheus and Covenant. And that's where we get to the ending of this movie. And most people, look, the average person that watches Alien Romulus is going to love it. They're going to look at it and go, oh my God, it's so scary, and this is so good, and the special effects and everything. Oh my God, who's going to die, and how's going to, what a plot twist, that thing at the end, so scary. The average alien person is going to love this movie. But I don't consider myself the average. And I feel that the studio influence and Ridley Scott fucked this movie up. Just like Prometheus, just like Covenant, and now we have Romulus. And I think the studio wanted Fede Alvarez to save it, but Ridley Scott is now the studio. That's what he is. He's a producer. He's a big shot fucking producer, and he sold out to the fucking corporation, and that's what he did. And they injected the black goo into it. They go into a science lab, they find the black goo. Ian Holmes' Ash character, Rook in this one, he's in there telling them that they need to get this back to the science, and they've sent a message to Weyland-Yutani, and they're going to be expecting my experiment. And the experiment, of course, is the black fucking goo. And the black goo comes from the facehuggers, and somehow the facehuggers came from the big chap, and magically, and they were able to extract the black goo from the facehuggers, which doesn't make fucking sense. Doesn't make sense. The black goo was never there. And so they're literally like dancing around and adding in bullshit to make Ridley Scott's old, washed up ass happy. And so what they do is they get this thing, and there's a girl in this movie that's pregnant, and she doesn't even know what this stuff is. And she's hurt somehow at some point. I think she was strapped up, or maybe the alien hurt her. She was going to get face hugged, and they got her before it happened, which still doesn't make sense. So they got her out, and then she's asked to take the stuff and go back to the ship. And at some random point, she just decides, you know what? I'm going to give it to myself. So she gives herself the fucking black goo, and it's some re-engineered black goo. So she gives it to herself, and she's fucking pregnant, and it doesn't make sense why she did it, because she doesn't even know what it is. She wasn't there when they found it, or discovered, or found out that it was a byproduct, or anything. So she just randomly sticks herself with some random shit they gave her, which doesn't make fucking sense. So there she goes, and then she gives birth, and she's having a birthing scene, and the birthing scene is straight out of Prometheus. The birthing scene is the, whatever they called it, it was like the med pod from the Prometheus. Great scene in Prometheus. It's one of my favorite scenes in Prometheus. It's definitely terrifying and so good. and the character gives birth, and there's an umbilical cord, we have to cut it, and there's juice and all the stuff that flies out of it, and that literally is almost like exactly the same. She's in a pod, she's giving birth, she's in a cryotube, it's like literally copying it in a lot of ways. And I was like, dude, why are we having this scene? And then the baby comes out, and somehow it burns to the floor, and it goes into the sublevels, and it's like a baby xenomorph hybrid, except it's a fucking engineer. The face of it is the fucking engineer from fucking Prometheus, and then it's got the alien mixed in. Now, there are things, if I never knew all these movies, I would probably like this movie. I'd probably be like, wow, oh my God, this is so much fun, this is great. So the average person's gonna love it. And the way Fede Alvarez shoots the scene at the end, great job, wonderful, wonderful, fantastic. However, and there are shots in it where I see this creature hiding in the hallway in the dark, looking for a terrifying shot. Like, I was like, damn, that's fucking scary. And so, and then there's like a scene where it gets to the original mother, and there's like weird slime coming out of her nipples, is trying to breastfeed. So it's almost like Fede Alvarez had a falling out and said, look, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it my way, and we're going to try and make it scary, we'll try and make it make sense. And you could see right there, it doesn't make fucking sense. It never fucking did, Ridley Scott. It never made sense, and it doesn't belong in an alien movie. So here we got flashbacks all the way back to Resurrection, which no one fucking likes, and then we get the scene with an alien hybrid shit. It's like a newborn, and it even gets sucked through the floor, just like out in the vacuum of space, just like the newborn from Alien Resurrection. And I just felt like, at that point, I was like, yeah, I can't forgive it anymore. I can't forgive this film for how far it took its bullshit. And the studio meddling and interference, you could clearly see it. And then let's just like, the last part that was really fucking bad was this one-liner. And this one-liner is a line directly out of Aliens, and it's this movie is before Aliens. So this is a sequel to Alien, and then you have Aliens, and this is a quote, directly from Ripley when she comes out in the power loader, mama versus fucking mama, and they're fucking fighting over Newt, and the survival of the alien race and the survival of the human race are standing there, and Ripley says that line, "Get away from her, you bitch." And when she says it, the whole audience is like, fuck yeah, for like humanity. That's what that line is. It's for fucking humanity. And the Queen Alien's like, all right, let's fucking fight. That right there is why that scene's so fucking good. And in this movie, you have a character say that line to a xenomorph that's dead on the floor in a context that makes no fucking sense. He's never shown anything about that language. He's never said anything like that. He has no interest. It's fucking dumb. It is a dumb fucking line, and it's designed for people that are just fucking stupid. So I would say, with that little cherry on the cake and all that fucking ending with fucking Prometheus black goo and the engineer and all that garbage and all that shit, the only thing saving this movie is the cocoon and the practical effects. Everything else about this movie just gets on my fucking nerves. And I was worried that this was going to happen. I was concerned about it. And I'm so disappointed that Fede Alvarez gave in to the pressure, because I know this film is not the film he wanted to make. So, yeah, that's my opinion. 6 out of 10, motherfuckers. We're going for the 6 out of 10. And obviously, you can see I'm very passionate about the subject. And I've put so much into the subject in my life. And I don't know why. I've got all this shit behind me. I've got books behind me that are all alien stuff. Like Geeker's Diary behind me. I'm just so into the subject. And people think it's fucking crazy that I'm so into it. They're like, what the fuck? And yeah, and I love Alien 3. Aliens is actually, I like Alien 3, and then Aliens. That's my lineup. I think Alien 3 was underrated. It's a mess, yes, but there's moments in it that are fucking great. And what he was trying to do, David Fincher was trying to do, was go back to that fear, that horror, that claustrophobic. And then the studio fucking came in and meddled with it and turned it into fucking Alien. It tried to turn it into Aliens 2 by not turning into Aliens 2. Like, it just became, they just meddled with it too much. And I can see in this one, that is exactly what happened with Romulus. And it's disappointing. So anyway, Ridley, if you ever see this, fuck you. And Fede Alvarez, I'm sorry that you got fucking peer pressured into putting in that stupid one-liner and the black goo and the engineer, dude. Like, you could have fucking added in that fucking elephant race. You could have done a giant fucking monster race of fucking space jockeys and shown us this fucking thing and the fall of them, and it just made it into some fucking deep science fiction space, fantasy science fiction horror. You could have done it. But you sold out to some fucking gimmicky science project that Ridley got excited with one day and didn't think it through. So anyway, y'all have a good one. Boop.